Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well. It is finally here. It is finally UFC 317 Fight Week, International Fight Week, and it's the big one. Okay, it is the Sydney Sweeney of UFC fight cards, a UFC event which the UFC hasn't really promoted yet. It's probably been the only thing UFC fans have been thinking of since it's been announced. And if you have someone, if you know of someone that struggles with erectile dysfunction, you could go ahead and show them the countdown of this event. And if that doesn't work, they might be cooked. There's a part in that countdown episode where Kai Kara-France is doing the haka, and while showing that, they're also showing his knockouts within the UFC. If that doesn't get your Johnson's attention, I don't know, Sydney Sweeney won't get it if that doesn't get it. And this fight card has more names on it than a Bonnie Blue list with superstars and potential superstars. It is insane. And in this episode, basically gonna look at every single fight on the main card of this UFC 317 event and then argue who has more to lose. That's it. So before I get into it, before I start the video, just a friendly reminder, if you enjoy the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I would really appreciate it. That would be awesome. You're awesome. Let's go. Now, starting off this insane event, inside of the bantamweight division with Peyton Talbott, he is taking on Felipe Lima. Peyton Talbott is currently 3-1 inside the UFC, 9-1 professionally. Felipe Lima is 14-1 professionally, and he is 2-0 inside of the UFC. And neither man has a lot to lose in this fight, seeing that with regards to UFC experience, both of them are inexperienced, both of them are young, so the stakes aren't really that high. If someone has more to lose, it will probably be Peyton Talbott, because I think the UFC wants to turn Peyton into a massive superstar, because he fights exciting. Now his personality outside of the UFC, it's gonna be something that a lot of people resonate with and a lot of people don't. But inside of the octagon, he is insane. And I think the UFC wants to promote him. I think the loss to Raoni Barcelos was something nobody would have expected. And that's probably why he has more to lose. If he loses again against Felipe Lima, with every loss, he becomes less marketable. The only person that could actually lose and become more marketable after a loss is Michael Chandler, because everything in the build-up to that loss is probably going to be insane. Michael Chandler could probably get knocked out with a handstand head kick and he'll still be marketable, because prior to the handstand head kick, fists were flying everywhere and it was just carnage and chaos. But that's only applicable to Michael Chandler, and because he might have Dana White privilege. But every loss makes a fighter less marketable. If Peyton loses again, this time it's going to be on the main card. Everybody's going to see it if it happens. Now, if it happens, then it's just a loss. He's still going to be 9-2, still going to have a bright future. I just think with regards to what the UFC wants out of this, I think Peyton Talbott has more to lose. Then moving on to the next fight inside of the flyweight division with Brandon Royval taking on Joshua Van. Now, I made a video regarding this fight, and if you haven't watched it, if you maybe want to revisit it, it's a YouTube short. You can just click on that link, it will take you to the video. And I basically mentioned that Joshua Van has nothing, absolutely nothing to lose in this fight. You could not measure the amount of nothingness Joshua Van has to lose in this fight. He's not playing with house money, he's playing with Brandon Royval's money in this fight. Now, initially, Brandon Royval was scheduled to fight Manel Kaur. at UFC 370. And then Carp pulled out. Joshua Van stepped in. But now Carp is ranked number 6. Joshua Van is ranked number 11. And Brandon Royval is ranked number 1. The only person being better, according to the rankings, is Alexandre Pantoja, who is the champion. Now, 1 taking on number 6 makes sense. 1 taking on number 11 doesn't. But Brandon Royval needed an opponent. Joshua Van stepped in. The reason why, well, that is a reason. The other reason why Brandon Royval has everything to lose, Joshua Van fought 2 weeks ago at UFC 316. Now, both men accepted this fight on 3 weeks' notice. The difference is Joshua Van fought 2 weeks ago. And Brandon Royval has been preparing, has been in camp for however long it's been now. Also, Brandon Royval is turning, or either is 33 years old. Joshua Van is, I think, 24 years old, or 23. So, if Joshua Van loses, then he doesn't lose. If he loses the fight, the narrative will be, well, we expected this because of all of these tangible reasons. So, if he loses the fight, he still doesn't lose anything. Okay, if he wins, he could become the next challenger for whoever wins between Pantoja and Kai Kara-France. Seeing that Brandon Royval, the winner of Royval and Carp, would have probably taken on the winner of Pantoja and Kai Kara-France. And if Joshua Van beats Brandon Royval, then he is gonna probably take on the champion next, which is insane, going from 11 to probably number 2 and facing the champion. Yeah, so I hope that kind of explains why Joshua Van has nothing to lose in this fight and Brandon Royval has everything to lose. And with that being said, I think a lot of props have to go to Brandon Royval, because everybody is talking about, yeah, Joshua Van is a stud, and I do agree, an absolute Donny for taking this fight 3 weeks basically to prepare for it. Brandon Royval is sacrificing everything in this fight, and basically that is what it should be. It's basically someone that just wants to fight, wants to showcase how good he is. He doesn't care who he fights, whether it makes sense or not. Brandon Royval wants to fight. Insane. Moving on to the next fight inside the lightweight division, Beneil Dariush, he is taking on Renato Moicano. Now already it has to be Beneil Dariush, and it's not because of age, because the age gap between them is 1 year. I think Beneil is a year older than Renato Moicano. It's not because of record, because Beneil is 16-6 within the UFC, Renato Moicano is 12-6 within the UFC. It is based off run of form and the eye test. Because Beneil Dariush lost his last 2 fights, and losing 2 fights in a row, it's not that bad. Except if you take into account the way that he lost. Devastating knockout versus Arman Tsarukyan in the first round. Devastating knockout loss against Charles Oliveira in the first round as well. And in the Arman fight, that fight was in December of 2023. So that is more than a year and a half ago. When he fought Arman, the last time Beneil Dariush fought inside of the UFC. If we look at Renato Moicano, his last fight was against Islam Makhachev. That weird scenario where Islam was scheduled to fight Arman Tsarukyan, Arman pulled out, and Renato Moicano stepped in. And I think it was less than a week's notice. So, going into that fight, we already knew Renato was probably gonna lose. So he went into that fight the way Joshua Van is going into his fight with Brandon Royval. He had nothing to lose. Prior to losing to Islam Makhachev, Renato Moicano was on a 4-fight winning streak, beating Jalen Turner, beating Drew Dober, Brad Riddell, and I don't remember who the other one was. So, based off of what you see, Renato still looks good within the lightweight division. He still looks competitive. He still looks somewhat fresh. And yeah, right now, we cannot say the same for Beneil Dariush. I think if Beneil loses this one, it's going to be it's going to have a massive impact on his rankings inside of the lightweight division, on potentially his future, whether he is considering retiring if he loses this one. With Renato, I don't really think the same applies. I think if Renato loses this one, he'll basically just bounce back and take the next fight as soon as possible. And then we're moving on to the co-main event, the championship bout of the flyweight division, where Alexandre Pantoja is taking on Kai Kara France. Now already it has to be Alexandre Pantoja, not just because he is champion, but he has his sights set on surpassing Demetrius Johnson and his record of title defenses within the flyweight division of the UFC, which is 11. Yes, you heard that correctly. 11. Now, when Alexandre Pantoja beat Kaya Sakuro, he had 3. So he is just past the quarter mark of this goal. If he wins 8 more, if he defends his belt 8 more times, then he is level with Mighty Mouse. And yeah, this goes to show, if you ever had to ask anyone who's in the top 5 of greatest UFC fighters of all time, and Mighty Mouse isn't on it, then they basically don't know dick about the UFC. Then you could, whatever they say is disregarded. You could disregard everything they say because they don't know anything about the UFC. And Alexandre Pantoja wants to have that, that title of being the greatest featherweight of all time. Now, is it possible? Sure. Anything and everything is possible. Ask Yoel Romero. Is it probable? Hell no. I don't even think if every title defense he has counts as 2, that he would get there. Now, if he does, then obviously I'm ecstatic for him, and I'm very happy for him. I just don't think. But that's what's on the line for Alexandre Pantoja. If Kai Kara France loses, then we would imagine that he's probably then 2 or 3 fights removed from fighting for the belt once again. Seeing that, first of all, the division right now is filled with guys that are incredible, and there are 4 of them, 5 of them, and they are way better than the rest of the division by a country mile. So we would imagine that between those 5 guys, that's where your next contender is going to be. And Kai Kara France is extremely marketable because he has a lot of power, especially in a division where you don't really see people have a lot of power. He has a lot of knockout wins. He is marketable. He is really good. The UFC likes him. So if he loses, you would imagine that it won't take him long to come back to the point where he could compete for a championship within the flyweight division. And yeah, Alexandre Pantoja wants that title, has that aspirations of becoming the greatest flyweight of all time. Sure, he has a hell of a long way to go, but I think that just counts for more. He has more to lose. He is the champion as well. It has to be Alexandre Pantoja. Then moving on to the main event, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight championship of the UFC. Now, I don't necessarily have an answer. I have a side that I'm leaning towards, but you could make an argument for both. And I'm gonna make that argument for both. And I would appreciate it if you let me know in the comment section, who do you think has more to lose? Ilia Topuria is probably the biggest villain inside of the UFC right now, because he finds happiness in tracking down your favorite fighter and knocking them out. He is like Thanos collecting Infinity Stones.
I am inevitable.
Except it's the head of your favorite fighter, because he doesn't just beats them, he knocks them out. And next on his list is Charles Oliveira. And the reason why I think it leans more towards Ilia is because of everything that Ilia has accomplished, the way that he conducts himself, everything about him says that the stakes are higher in this fight. Because he was the featherweight champion, knocked out Volkanovski, knocked out Max Holloway. He vacated his belt basically forever, because I don't think he's ever going to go back to featherweight, to fight at lightweight and become a 2-time champion, where Charles Oliveira was already champion inside of the lightweight division, and he is already regarded as one of the best lightweights of all time. So he is already somewhat cemented his legacy within the UFC. If he loses, then it'd be fair to assume that he probably won't fight for the title again. Now that's massive. That is a big part of this conversation. But with saying that, he has already been the lightweight champion, or he has already been a guy who has the record for the most bonuses and finishes, I think, within the UFC. So he's a UFC Hall of Famer. I don't know whether the same applies to Ilia, even though I am a massive Ilia Topuria fan. I don't think if Ilia ends his career prior to fighting at UFC 317, I don't know whether he would make the UFC Hall of Fame. The opposite doesn't apply for Charles Oliveira. I think he has already cemented his legacy within the UFC and within the Hall of Fame. And everything Ilia wants to accomplish. He fought Volk, he knocked him out. He then fought Max Holloway, a massive fan favorite, knocked him out. Now he's facing Charles Oliveira, a massive fan favorite. One of the most beloved fighters within the UFC. If he knocks him out, if he knocks out Charles, he will set his sights on Islam. Because it has always been about Islam. When Ilia vacated the belt at featherweight, he thought that he was going to fight Islam Makhachev. But then Islam vacated his belt because Islam wanted to become a 2-division champion as well. And that was the plan. It's because Ilia wanted the appreciation that Islam got. Because Islam was pound for pound the greatest fighter in the world. Has been undefeated inside of the lightweight division for nearly a decade. The general consensus is that Islam Makhachev is the best fighter in the world right now. Ilia wants that. And he knows what it will do for his legacy if he is able to knock out not only a fan favorite in Islam Makhachev, but the best fighter in the world. So it's always been about Islam. And Charles is a roadblock on his destination towards Islam Makhachev. And I think Ilia is such a villain that if Islam had to go up to middleweight, Ilia will follow him. Ilia will follow him to super heavyweight to fight Islam because he wants to beat Islam Makhachev. And that's why I think the stakes are just that much higher for Ilia. The massive stakes, okay, rump stakes for Ilia Topuria in this fight, where Charles, he can regain the belt, but he's already a Hall of Famer within the UFC. He was already a champion inside of the lightweight division. He's already regarded as one of the best lightweights of all time within the UFC. I just think Ilia and what he wants to accomplish, the goals that he has set, it's just that much more. Which one do you think has more to lose in this fight? Let me know in the comment section. I would really appreciate it. And that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you in the next one.